Hi, this is Chris Cook from 3M Commercial Graphics. Today I'd like to talk about using primer when you're applying graphics. Primer basically is an adhesion promoter. It increases the adhesion of the film to the substrate, and you would use it in any application where you do want to give the film that stronger grip onto the substrate. Probably the most common example of that is on vehicle graphics. In those areas where you're conforming the film around a curve and you want to give the film just that little bit of extra grip onto the vehicle's paint. So on a vehicle wrap, some of the areas where you might consider using primer are those areas where you are going to put the film under some stress when you're actually conforming to a curved surface. On this particular car, some of those areas might be around these sort of recessed areas here, or even inside this sort of area-taking area here. You are stretching the film, putting under that stress. The primer will actually give the adhesive better grip onto the surface and actually help the film stay down. Now, it is important to understand that with primer, that shouldn't replace good basic application technique. You've still got to pay attention to your surface preparation, minimising the stretch of the film, and your post-heating, and all the other steps of correct application. But the primer is just there to give you that little bit of extra confidence that the film will actually stay down with that very strong adhesion. Now, when it comes to actually applying the primer, there's a few ways that you can do it. Probably the simplest way is just to use a little paintbrush, about 6mm sort of square tip. Another way that some people like to use is just actually the corner of a rag, just dipped into the primer, applied to the surface. One method that I quite like is actually to buy an industrial refillable marker and actually fill it with the primer. This works very well. You basically push down on the surface and the primer starts flowing through the tip. This is a very, very convenient way to apply the primer, and also not very messy either. Okay, just a couple of cautions about using primer though. It will reduce the repositionability of a wrap film. So once the film has been applied to it, you will find it very difficult to pop that film back off the surface to reposition it, so it does kind of be a one-shot deal. Also, it really reduces the removability of the film. When you go to remove those graphics, you'll find that the area that's been primed, the film will stick very aggressively, the film will be very difficult to remove, and you'll pretty much have 100% adhesive residue left behind. So you will need to spend some time and effort cleaning that off. Okay, so primer is used, as I said, to increase the adhesion of the film. Very useful in these recessed areas on vehicles. Also the recesses, the window recesses on vans, another very useful place to use primer. You may also decide to use it if you've got a low surface energy substrate where the adhesive is not sticking very well to the material. So very useful in those areas, but as I said, don't overdo it. You don't want to prime an entire surface because you do reduce the repositionability and there's that removal issue as well. Okay, just to demonstrate the effect that the primer actually has on the adhesive, I've applied a small strip of primer onto the car here and then applied a small piece of film over the top. So let's see what happens when I now go and actually remove the film. You can see it's starting to actually adhere much more strongly where that primer was, and it's not wanting to come off. And rather than pulling off nice and smoothly, the film's tending to snap. You can see through here where my strip of primer was. And when I go to take this film off, you'll find that it really is stuck on very, very firmly. And takes a lot more effort. Significantly more difficult to remove. You can really see the increase in the adhesion level there. And you can probably also see the adhesive residue that's being left behind in that primed area. Now this has only been on for probably 20 minutes as well. If we let this film build up its full adhesion, it would be even more difficult to remove, but you can see quite clearly there the increased adhesion. Okay, once you've got the film off, you are going to have quite a bit of adhesive residue left behind, so you will need to get your adhesive remover to get rid of that. So Again, just give it a good spray. With any adhesive remover, give it some time to work. Give that little bit of dwell time to let it soften the adhesive to make it easier to remove. You can see there the adhesive starting to swell up and soften. And once we've given it a little bit of time to work on the adhesive, now we can go ahead and actually remove it from the surface. Okay, so Primer 94, very useful tool when you're doing demanding applications such as vehicle wraps to give the film that extra strong adhesion to the substrate to stop it wanting to pop out of recesses or pull away from edges. Only use it sparingly and be aware of the issues around repositionability and removability, but certainly a very useful tool to have in your toolkit. Anyway, thanks for watching. Again, if you have any questions or comments, please post them in the comments section. But other than that, thank you very much for watching. Chris Cook from 3M Commercial Graphics. See you next time.